Hello, good morning. Welcome to the land of Kakiak. So it's a Saturday morning and we're getting ready for Christmas week next week. We're taking all next week off. And I need to record for the week all of our work that we got done in our notebooks. And so I thought if you're interested in notebooking, and I know this is what I love about notebooking is that it's so open. I thought I would show you our notebooks, what we worked on this week, just for like inspirational purposes, if that's inspiring to you. I'll also, what I've been listening to lately when I'm working is, two things. I've been listening to a class on theology from Hillsdale, a free class, I'll link it for you, as well as one of our friends here in my last video suggested R.C. Sproul has a lecture series here on YouTube. I've been listening to that too. I will link it for you in the description box, just in case you're looking for any good listening material. Okay, let's go take a look at the notebooks. Okay, first up is my first grader. I'm gonna set up his planning page. I record in the same order that his work appears in his notebooks. If we had co-op this week, I'd put like other or like co-op subjects here so I could write them in on the day, but we're on break, so there's nothing there. Okay, so I thought I would just show you his pages from this week. He's got a separate spelling workbook and then a language arts, like a reading and writing notebook. So everything else goes in his everything else notebook. This one happens to be Bible, social studies, and math. When we get through our social studies, we're going to switch over to science, and he'll do Bible, science, and math for the second half of the year. But this is what it looks like for now. Okay. I thought I would just give you a quick flip through of this week's work, and then I'll record it really quick and take his attendance. So we have been using the Biggest Story curriculum for Bible recently. This is one of their printables. We did Psalm 23:1. I like to just use highlighter to put in the memory verse for that lesson and have him trace it. So like I did do it. Sometimes I write out what their like takeaway or like their big truth is for that lesson as well, but I didn't on this one. And then we are using the Good and the Beautiful Year 3 for history. We've made this from some of their stuff. I like to put the answer underneath if they have a lot of things that are matching. And a lot of times I'll turn that into a notebooking page. I'll just make several copies for all the kids and we'll just figure out some way to put it into their little books. So we were talking about the Battle of the Alamo on this day. And then his math. We are still working through our math facts, and I have a set of worksheets that I use for that. This day I just wrote, sometimes I just write them in, like if he needed more practice, I don't want to reprint a worksheet. Sometimes I just write them in, that's fine too. And then we're also doing Number Stories Book 2. Looks like we did page 148 together here. The next day, right, we've got Proverbs 1 we covered. And then Stagecoaches of the Pony Express for history. Yeah, here's one. If it's a worksheet, a lot of times I like cut it out and then we just tape it in. I mean, I could just write them in every time, but this is a lot of times just easier for me to do. And then we did pages 152 to 153. It was going over time, days of the week. We talked about abbreviations and stuff like that. I don't always a lot of it as I'm going through that book, Number Stories Book 2, we don't need to write everything out. A lot of it we're just like reading through the number stories and then going through the exercises together. A lot of them he can just answer orally. And so we only write things like when I think it's helpful. Just be mindful with a 6-year-old of like how much writing they have to do in a day. Okay, the next day we did Isaiah 6. And then for history, we talked about the first transcontinental railroad. It looks like he had a test on this particular fact group. He missed one, but he corrected it. And then we did a few more pages here. Then we did Jeremiah 1. and the Homestead Act and Land Rush. We're also reading, so it's something I've changed recently since we started the next unit of history, is instead of doing a lesson every other day, I was alternating the read aloud book and the lessons. I've just been going, I wanted to pick up the pace and get through history a little faster so we could get on to science here in the next month or two. So we're doing a lesson every day, and I've just been reading to them from that read aloud book at night for their bedtime story. Yep, there's those math facts we were working on. We're on to group 1, part 17. And yeah, he missed one. So whenever he misses one, we circle it and he goes back and he has to figure it out again. And we did, yeah, pages like 157 to 164. But I didn't really feel like there was anything that needed to be written down. Although we did show like what 1 inch was. They were talking about rulers and measurements on this day. And we covered Ezekiel 37. And we went over the first and second industrial revolutions. This is yesterday. And so, yeah, we just cut these out. And again, this is something, I put things into my notebook. I like using their printables. They have their own student explorers, but I use them as notebooking pages whenever I can. Okay. And then our last day of math for the week. Just more working on those math facts, and we went over some number stories pages. And then his spot is just marked to start off next week. Okay, so that's what our pages looked like for my first grader this week for those subjects. And I'm just gonna quickly record those. The next thing I'm checking is his spelling. He's working through McGuffey Spelling Level 1. We're about halfway through. I think we just finished lesson 15, so out of 30. So we're, yeah, about perfectly through. No, we're starting lesson 15 out of 30, yeah. So we're perfectly through, halfway through the program for the year. So we're on track. Okay, let me go back to, let me find 12, 16. Okay, here we go. This is where we started. Just so you guys can see just kind of what his first grade spelling looks like. I use the spelling word list as my bookmark. These are the words for this list: bun, run, sun, nut, hung, lung, sun, gush, dust, must, rust, gust, drum. This is the next one we're starting, next time we're up. But so he did. This is how I note it. This was lesson 13, day 5. Oh wait, this is the one before. He must have finished one and started another this week. So from lesson 13, day 5. Oh yeah, see, there's his test. And then we went to lesson 14. This is our analyzing the words day. Yeah, we were talked about glued sounds. That was a newer spelling concept. Yeah, if he can spell them right the first time without any problem, I don't make him write it 3 times. Like he had a hard time with drums. He had to do drum 3 times. That DR blend. Oh yeah. So it's so funny. So this is my workbook that I made, right? So this is like the first ones I had printed on Amazon, and like I find mistakes in it, like my own work. I'm like, dang it. So you can see me like, I feel like my kids always have, like the stuff I'm using is always the stuff that has some mistakes in it, and I will always like find it as we're working through it, and then I'm like going back and like fixing it. So for other people, but yeah, the copy that's available on Amazon and stuff won't have these. Like I forgot to add in some sentences. Building word pyramids. So like yesterday, day 20, I was like, I really felt like he had these words. So we did like several activities in one go. It just kind of depends on the day, you know, how many spelling activities I have him do. But this day I was like, these are pretty easy. We did our pattern sort. We identified 3 patterns in this list. There were CVC words, there were glued sound words, and then there was like some blends. So we sorted those together, and then we did, right, I dictated the words, he writes them, and then he counts the syllables. records that. And he took his test, right? I was kind of pushing to get this lesson done so that we could just start a new one the next time we were back. But he loves to get a trophy if he gets 100%. Okay, so that's what his spelling looked like this week. So let's record that. Put that to the side. Okay, reading. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so for reading, he's got his McGuffey primer. He reads out of that. You guys have seen my reading lessons. But I always write down in his notebook like what we did. So let me find my dates. Go 12/16. Okay, so 12/16. Because the first time we did this page was on 12/13. It's supposed to have been the previous week. I did start noting that we've been doing foundational phonics as a warm-up with our reading. And so we are working in chapter 2. It was going over the silent E. So 16, I know we went over chapter 2 like every single day this week. Plus he was reading in here and doing his copy work. So he was doing both of those things. So let's record that. Okay. All right, he's recorded. The only thing I have left to do for him is to check his attendance. So he was here the 16th through the 20th. Okay, so this is how I keep track of attendance. Is up here. Oh, and I'll mark myself. I like to mark where I am for the next week. Here's where I write my attendance sheet. Okay, so December, 16th through the 20th. Bo was here every day in school. And then when I get to the end of the month, I count up. Each kid has their own color. So Bo is green, William is blue, and Everett's red. And then I just count them up at the end of the month. And I add it to my sheet so I can get my total at the end. Okay, let's move on to William, my 4th grader. Okay, he starts out the same: Bible, history, math. That he does his reading, his spelling book, his reading, and writing as well. And again, if we were going to co-op, I'd have that filled out too. Okay, first things first, I'll show you his Bible stuff. So this is a 4th grader. So some of the stuff is like Bible and history we do together. So it's gonna be the same material, but if you kind of want to see what it looks like in a 4th grader's notebook. Okay, this is what his looks like. He has a slightly different Bible page that he fills out. So questions, I help him with this, the Alamo page, same thing. And then his math, he's doing Study Arithmetics book 3, Study Arithmetics 3, which he's pretty much doing on his own. So he's doing that while I'm doing math with Bo. And then, occasionally he needs help, but I just make sure he's checking it, he's correcting it, and if there's anything wrong, he has to do the corrections. He really likes drawing, doodling on his work. Yeah, every once in a while I will write out the problems for him just because it speeds things up. Like if I have time, like if I've given Bo a worksheet and he's working on it, I'll usually check in with Will and say, do you need help with anything? And then he'll sometimes be like, can you write these ones in for me? You write in the questions just because I'm faster at it and it really cuts down his time. So yeah, I'll do that sometimes. But that was his work for those subjects this week. Record those really quick. All right, we covered those with him. We're gonna move on to spelling. Okay, he is at McGuffey Spelling Level 3. Let's find where our week started with him. Okay, so it looks like we missed spelling on Monday. It didn't get done. We've analyzed our words on the 17th. We did write our words 3 ways. So this one, we're trying to like work on inflectional endings and like suffixes and stuff. I was gonna point this out. Sometimes the words already have an inflectional ending on them. Like one of his words this week was ashes. So instead of, usually we had Adam and we added, how do you make that plural? You add an S, right? Atoms. This one had ashes, so it was already plural, so we did ash minus ES, brought us back to just ash to the base word. So let's say, I was gonna just, if you do these exercises with your kids, you can add or take off, and I think that's kind of a fun activity. Okay, then he did his word work, so he alphabetized the words. He does that usually with his flashcards, and I just check. And then for the sake of time, a lot of these, I will just have him look up the words that maybe he didn't know the definition of. It looks like he was just doing them all on this day, which like that's okay with me. But I feel like I constantly tell him, I'm like, you don't have to look up all of them. You could just look up like 3 that you didn't know if you didn't know the definition of them, look it up and then just write the sentences with them in it. It looks like he was trying to write walked 80 fathoms. Although he misspelled walked. So it looks like he did one. It looks like he didn't quite finish this activity, but that's okay. Pattern sort was the last thing he did. So it looks like he needs me to go over this lesson with him. So this is probably going to be a redo. So it looks like he was working on this by himself and he didn't quite follow the instructions. He still gets credit for trying, but yeah, I just make a note to myself that we need to redo this page. So when he opens this up on the next time we're here, we'll go over this page together. Okay, but I'll just record what he was working on this week. Okay, then reading. So he has 2 things for me to check. One is his reading and writing companion notebook he does with his McGuffey reader, and the other one is an independent reading. So we'll do McGuffey first. I love the McGuffies for lots of reasons. One of the main reasons I wanted to use them is the moral content, like the high character example that these stories set. Something that I have found just really helpful actually for character education, like not character as in characters in a story, but like the character of my children, is to go over these reading passages, which are also giving them like reading and vocabulary instruction, but to go through these pages I created, we just delve into and dissect like the true meaning of these stories. We look at them, it doesn't take too long or anything, but we really look at them deeply, and we have just had so many good conversations from the McGuffey readers and from doing these exercises together. And it comes up in conversation, like in life, like the things that we have learned and like the examples, because this will paint you a picture of or giving a moral example, something to refer back to when you're talking. And it's just so helpful to have these lessons in both of our minds that we can refer to, and like he'll know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I can't say enough good things about the McGuffey readers. We use the revised editions, but the originals are great too. Okay, so yeah, so every day he has a worksheet that goes with the reading passage. We're just doing one passage for a week at a time at this point. And I usually do this with him. Then he does his vocabulary words page. And we just divide up whatever vocabulary words there are for that passage over 4 days. We take however many a day. And then the last day, lately I've just been writing the words and the definitions and having him match them up, kind of like a little quiz at the end of the week. I've actually been working on creating, like updating these pages so that I can update this resource. So if anybody wants to do that, they won't have to like handwrite things out. It'll be done. So I'm slowly working on that. And then he has a page to do. You could do any grammar or writing exercises you wanted here. This could be copy work. This could be anything. But we use it for doing our gentle grammar work in here. Okay, so this would be the next day, day 2. I like to have him draw a picture of one of the paragraphs. Something that had one of these words in it, right? Sometimes like when there's this many errors in his writing, I might have him do a rewrite. But I don't always. A lot of times it's just like, how much time do we have in the day? Okay, fearless and disliked. Fearless is 2 S's. Disliked. Okay, here's how to tell you. This is what I do to give him like a little quiz. Okay, so I didn't get to check this at the end of the day, so I probably just go over this stuff with him. I may or may not make him rewrite it. Like I said, it depends on how much time there is in the day. But I definitely, if I notice a bunch of errors like this, especially at the end of the week when I'm checking, I just like go over it with him. I just show it to him. There's that, and then the other thing he does this stuff, and I check it. What he does pretty independently is his independent reading. I like him to always be reading something on his own. I mean, the Guffey passages are very short. I'll show you, like, here's just my Guffey reader. So the one he just read that we were just going over was this one. Like, that's it. It ends right there, right? Those are the vocab words that come with it. They're pretty short, but we get a lot out of them. But I like to have him something that he's like slowly reading on his own. And I just love the Easy Peasy readers for this. You know, I love the Robinson curriculum, and a lot of the books on their book lists, a lot of them they have in the Easy Peasy readers. There's a lot of overlap, which is why I originally bought them. But there's other, stories in here too that are good to read that aren't necessarily on that list. But like he's reading the Swiss Family Robinson, which is on the RC reading list. And he's just been reading. I just have him read a lesson a day. And there'll be like some little instructions here, something for him to think on. But he can just read a lesson a day. That's how far that lesson was. So it's not super long, but it's probably about the right amount of reading time for him, being 9. And then he's using my book notes and chapter summaries resource. This is one of the pages from it. And we just print out a couple, staple them together. And he writes a summary of what he read. He does his best. He's supposed to remember to write the date. He doesn't always remember to write the date. I can see that he has not written a summary since the 17th, even though I know he read every day. Oh, wait, he started one over here. So he's not super great about remembering to write his summaries. He kind of like reads and then I think sometimes he just forgets because it's the last thing we do. Or we run out of time and I'm just like, okay, you can be done. But I just like to keep an eye on it to see if anything is happening. So that says that was supposed to be lesson 33. Where is he? Looks like he didn't finish lesson 34. Yes, it looks like he didn't. That was the 18th. That was Wednesday. So this should have been 34, should have been Thursday. So that means he didn't do it. He didn't do his independent reading on Friday. He did some on Thursday, but he didn't do any on Friday. So this is the kind of stuff that he will, like, I would make him make up on a weekend. So he'll probably have to do this reading this weekend and do his little summaries, or he doesn't get his game time. All right, so I was just checking up on that. Looks like he did some reading every day except for Friday. Or he could have switched. He could have skipped it on Thursday and done, because I know I saw him with his book yesterday, but he probably just didn't finish. Okay, so let's do our recording for that. Okay, he is recorded. Now I just need to take his attendance. So he was in school every day this week. Okay, last but not least, it's my 8th grader. So I typically only record math, lit, vocab, writing, and history for him. He does Bible with us, but I'm not making him do anything. He doesn't have like a page he does. He just participates in the reading and the discussion and prayer and all that kind of stuff. Again, there's no co-op this week, so I won't fill that out. We just finished learning math fast this week. So I have a final test to correct for him really quick. I have some worksheets of his, the stuff I need to put into his notebook. And I have a couple of worksheets for him. I need to put those in his notebook. And all the answers are in the back, so I'm gonna correct that really quick. Okay, so I corrected his math test and I've got corrections for him to do next time. Okay, where's the 20th? Okay, so I remember I know he did a math fact warm up, like a worksheet. And then he did learn math fast, volume 1, lesson 47 through 49. So lately, like, I've just been taking his worksheets when I print them off like this. And he can use this for scratch paper because he usually needs more room to, you know, do his work than what's on the worksheets. And then when they're done, I just put them in like that. Okay, the other thing I need to do is, he didn't write down what, okay, lesson 19, this must be day 2. So he retyped final draft. This is setting essay. Okay, I'm just putting some stuff in last minute. So I actually have it here, and I know that I've already read it. I know he has everything in here for me. He had to retype this like 3 or 4 times because I kept finding mistakes. I was like, that has to be perfect to turn in. But this is the grading rubric. It says, I'm just using the paragraph one from the Right Journey, but I'm applying it to a multi-paragraph essay. And yes, I've got a setting essay in there. I'm just gonna go ahead and staple it into his notebook to keep it in here for a record. I like him to be able to look back and see his work. Yeah, there was nothing really to write in here because he was just working on the computer for that. Okay, and that's the last page. Okay, let's turn back to make sure everything is done. Yeah, he was working on. Yeah, this is the one before for his setting. This is like the feedback he got from me. I was checking it, that it had all the parts I was looking for, and then I gave him notes about writing a stronger conclusion. Writing co-op editing, yeah, rewrite, conclusion paragraph. Okay, get that done. Okay, get that done. Co-op writing. This is co-op. I don't know what he was doing. What was he doing on this day? He says he's working on his co-op writing. What was he doing the day before? Rewrote intro paragraph, setting essay. Okay. I think he typed up setting essay. Oh, I think at some point, some pages got ripped out of this one. This math, he did a math act warm up, volume 1, lessons 46 and 47. Intro paragraph, okay. So he was working on his final draft. There was like at some point this week, I don't ever got off on his pages. There's 1216. Okay, somehow he accidentally skipped that page. All right, we're starting here for 1216 somehow. Okay, now that I've got, see, he also has for his writing that he's doing at co-op, he also has this intermediate writing. So some of his writing stuff has been in here, like a lot of his exercises he does for that class. So that's why sometimes he's done work in here and I just note it in this notebook. Okay. And he's been reading also out of his Easy Peasy reader. He's reading Penrod and Sam, which, even though he does have this week off coming up, he's supposed to finish reading that book from here over his break. So he does have to do that over the break. Because we want to start something new when he comes back and just get that one done. Plus, I don't like them to not be reading. It's good for their brains. All right, now it's time to record. Now that I verified everything is there. Okay, now Everett is recorded. I've made a plan. Essay is done. When we pick back up with math, we have to go over all the corrections from his test. And then I'll have him, after he does those corrections and we think he understands those lessons, we will retake the final test and we'll try again. Okay, mark myself for next time. Okay, and he was here every day this week. Where's my attendance? There. Okay, everyone is recorded. Have a good weekend.